This is Killer Kyle, and today we're going to do something different. We're going to do top 10 favorite matches of ours. I'm going to choose my favorite. We got Kyle, who's going to choose his favorite. So, just a little heads up. I say they're my favorite. I haven't seen most of them in years, but I remember that the reasons why I enjoyed them. But yeah, let's just get started. We're gonna start off with my list here. Number 1 is Giant Bubba, Andre the Giant, and Land of the Giants, who wrestled in 1990. And so back in a few years ago, when I was on YouTube looking up
random matches on the internet.
Yeah, there was a lot of really cool matches.
Yes.
In New Japan from the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and of course, today.
Yeah.
So, really, this match, and I looked it up just because, you know, I had to watch it again, and it was a really good match. You know, I think a lot of these matches with giants wrestling each other could be boring, but this was a pretty cool match. And
yeah.
I think that it's a shame that Giant Bubba never made it to the US, to my knowledge anyways.
Right.
But Japan always has some good wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think?
I honestly really don't know anything about this match. I have not seen this match.
Okay.
But
you've seen matches with Giant Bubba anyways.
Yeah, I've seen a few matches with Giant Bubba. I mean, Giant Bubba was the best Japanese big man in the business. You can't really say best big man of all time, or one of the best big men of all time. No. But you could certainly say one of the best. Well,
I think between him and Antonio Inoki, Antonio is better, I think.
Yes. Antonio Inoki was the more technical wrestler. Giant Bubba was just giant. No, there's no really other way to describe it. He was a really good big man wrestler.
Yeah, and Land of the Giants, really, I don't think anyways, it's been years, I don't think I've seen a match of his. But, and then there's obviously Andre the Giant.
Right.
So, like, you know, like I said, it would have been pretty cool to see Giant Bubba land in North America or wherever, but it is what it is. So, what's your number 1?
Well, I didn't really number them, I just wrote them down, but I'd say number 1 for me is a match you and I both talked about a while ago. We both agreed it was a great match, not only for women's wrestling, but as well as a match involving a stipulation. Nikki Cross and Asuka for the NXT Women's Championship when they had that last woman standing match.
Yes,
that was a phenomenal match.
Yes, and you know, it just goes to show you that these women can do it much better than the guys, especially when it comes to those kind of matches, as you'll see later on in my list.
Yes.
It's just one of those things that I hope to see more of in the future. And it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun to see. I'm sorry, I got to talk about this Wargames that's coming up.
Go for it, dude.
Oh my god. So, like I always said, I've never been a fan of WCW, but what WCW did right was have Wargames, and I never thought that there was a cage. Yeah, there were, of course, obviously. William Regal came out last night and announced it. It was all over the dirt sheet saying, well, it was all over Facebook. Well, Wargames is rumored to come back. So it's gonna be cool. It's gonna be the Undisputed Era versus Sanity versus Authors of Pain.
And Roderick Strong.
And Roderick Strong. So it's gonna be awesome just to see that. Like I said, NXT always knocks it out of the park. It's gonna be fucking awesome. I can't wait.
Yeah, and you know, with the Undisputed Era always getting involved in matches, and then you got Authors of Pain coming back and wanting the tag titles back, and you know, Sanity having the tag titles, and have the Undisputed Era trying to recruit Roderick Strong to be a member of their group, and well, Killian Dane is just one of the better big men in the business right now, and essentially have Akam Razar and Killian Dane in a match, and then, you know, the others. But just the fact that they're going to reintroduce Wargames is amazing. Like William Regal said, it's a match that hasn't been seen in 20 years. Because it was a big thing during the NWA WCW time period. And basically what it was, of course, 2 rings and then one giant massive cage surrounding both rings. And then you have 2 teams of 5, and you'd have 2 wrestlers start the match, and then there was a 60-second or 90-second time limit or whatever, and then when the time limit expired, you'd have another member from each team go into the match, and then once all 10 were in the ring, the only way you won is if you could make somebody from the other team give up. Say they tap out, say they quit, surrender, whatever. So to have that match in NXT, and with probably 2 of the best tag teams going right now, and then another very good tag team in the match, partnered with considerably one of the best in-ring technicians today, it should be a good match.
Oh yeah. It's gonna be a lot of fun. You know, I can't wait to see what else they have. But once again, NXT proves that it is the better show.
Yeah.
So, with that said, we'll go to number 2 of my pick. And that is The Rock and versus Hulk Hogan, or in this case, Hollywood Hulk Hogan. WrestleMania 18. And you know what? It's one of those matches where it's the new guy versus the old guy. You know, Hulk Hogan, the biggest guy of the 80s and early 90s, arguably. And then you got The Rock, who was the guy of the late 90s, 2000s.
Yeah.
So why not have them 2 together and have a match? And this was probably what stole the show. And that's just me talking. I'm not a huge fan of The Rock. I'm in no way a fan of Hogan, although obviously I will respect what he's done. My only complaint is, and this is what pisses me off, and I will say this till the end of I die, you put the wrong match in the fucking main event. You should have had The Rock versus...
This match as the main event. Rock and Hogan.
You fucking had Triple H and Chris Jericho main event. Now, that's not an issue. That shouldn't be an issue, because all your matches at WrestleMania should be the title is the main event.
Generally, yeah.
However, if you look at the case, when you pick it up and you go, hey, look at that, WrestleMania 18, who is the guy that's on the front?
Well, both Hogan and Rock are on the cover, yes.
So, fuck you, Vince, for, you did this, because let me explain something to you. WrestleMania 8, who main evented WrestleMania 8?
Hogan.
Yeah, exactly. Hulk Hogan and Sid Justice.
Yeah.
And yet, your title, it should have been in the main event, Randy Macho Man Savage versus Ric Flair. It had a story. It had a backstory. It had a storyline. Did Sid Justice and Hogan have a... No, because Sid Justice turns his back on Hogan, and, that was right before WrestleMania 8. So you should have had... Now, obviously, when you look at the cover of WrestleMania 8, it's Savage and Flair, and then you got Hogan and
Sid.
Well, I'm fucking sorry, but you shouldn't have to share your stupid main event. So, you obviously changed it through the years after that fuck up. And what makes it even sadder is it's your last World Wrestling Federation WrestleMania. And, I know that my brother was there. I don't know if he enjoyed it. I thought he said that people were kind of cheering Hogan. I don't know. Whatever the fuck. But it would have ended WrestleMania perfect. You had Hogan and The Rock embracing each other, and Hogan lifting up The Rock's hand, and then doing this shit, and was not a main event. No, you had Chris Jericho and Triple H and whatever. You know what? At the time, when I was watching a pay-per-view, it didn't really bother me that much. But through the years, you get to a certain point where you think, what the hell were you thinking?
As much as I could say it was a very good match, and, you got Rock at like 28, 29, or 30-ish, and then Hogan in his 40s, roughly, maybe. They both put on a hell of a match. I wouldn't necessarily agree with the fact that just because you see two guys on the cover of a wrestling DVD, you would automatically assume that they would be the main event.
Well,
Because that doesn't make sense. I mean, could it have been the main event? Absolutely. I'm sure Vince and the WWE had their reasons for not having it be the main event, but I mean, that doesn't necessarily have to take away from the fact that it was still a damn good match.
alright, that's fine too. The fact of the matter is, you know what, if you see that, you think, oh, we're gonna close the show. I mean, you had Undertaker and Roman Reigns close out the show this year.
Yeah.
And that was great. You know what? That was perfect. So, I think from that, I'm sure they go, oh, well, the Hulk Hogan was a special attraction, and we should have put him in the main event. And fuck you if you're gonna say WrestleMania 9. The fact of the matter is yeah, it did bother me. It still kind of bothers me. The fact of the matter, it's just that you had your two biggest guys in the WWF, and you put them on the mid card. So
The Rock and Hogan was only, I believe, 2 or 3 matches before Jericho and Triple H, so like mid card to me is like 3rd, 4th, 5th match on the card. Hogan and Rock was near the end of the show.
yeah, well,
And as much as you want to vindicate the fact that Hogan and Rock should have been the main event for WrestleMania 18, you gotta realize how many main event matches Hogan had at WrestleMania. Okay, you can take WrestleMania 9 and scrap it. I don't give a shit. But without that, Hogan still had several main event spots at a WrestleMania. So even though Hogan and Rock weren't the main event for 18, doesn't diminish Hogan's accolades, doesn't diminish Hogan's career, and it sure as hell doesn't diminish that match by any means. As much as you would have really liked to have seen it as the main event match, regardless, it was still an amazing match. And like I said, for Hogan being
47, I think he was.
Yeah, for Hogan being like 37, and Rock being, I don't know, early 30s roughly, I don't know. What does that tell you? Hogan at 37 could still...
27. 47.
47, okay. Yeah, Hogan at 47 could still go as Hogan at 28.
No, that's true.
So I mean, I can totally see your point of they very well could have and probably should have had that match as the main event. But just because it wasn't the main event still doesn't take away from the fact that it was a really, really good match.
But it's almost as, you know, okay, you advertise John Cena and The Rock for WrestleMania, and that's all fine and good.
Yeah.
However, your champion was CM Punk. Do you not think, and you know, there's reasons why he left, that should be one of them. Do you not think that Chris Jericho versus CM Punk should have main evented WrestleMania? Because you were going to have WrestleMania 29, I think it was. You were going to have WrestleMania 29 for The Rock and John Cena for the WWE Championship anyways. So there's no fucking way that John Cena and The Rock should have main evented twice.
Nah. Yeah.
But whatever. It is what it is.
Anyways, getting back on track now and on topic.
Yes.
My next match, I don't know which one I could go with, so I'll just say next one is Sasha Banks and Bayley. You could very well go their NXT Championship match and take over Brooklyn, but you could also go with the Iron Woman match they had in a rematch for the NXT Women's Championship the following takeover, whichever one it was. But either way you go, they have both had amazing, amazing matches. Those two, for me, were amazing matches.
Well, yeah, I agree with the Iron Woman match, and once again, another reason why I appreciate that treating women wrestlers a little bit more with respect and putting them in these kind of situations. This match was good too. Iron Man matches or whatever, they're very much grueling, you know.
Rare and few and far between.
So, I mean, there's a lot of cool shit that goes on, and this match was no exception. This match was awesome. You know, they really pulled it out, you know. And when you have another Iron Woman match, I don't know. This match was pretty cool in itself. They pretty much did okay in WWE.
Yes.
So, who knows? Anyways, yeah. So this was cool to see that.
I would say I feel strongly that Bailey and Sasha Banks are the ones that kind of helped push themselves, but also push other women to have main event spots on shows. Whether it be an NXT, whether it be a Raw, whether it be a SmackDown, hell, whether it even be in a pay-per-view, it doesn't matter, but still.
Well, and I think the goal in the future, I don't know how far ahead, but the goal for having the first woman match main event WrestleMania, whether or not that will happen. I mean, you never know. They're giving so many of these women opportunities, like a cage match, or a Hell in a Cell match, or a Falls Count Anywhere match.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I could have easily put Sasha Banks versus Charlotte Flair in my list.
Yeah.
Spoiler.
Yeah.
Anyways, no, but yeah, I will definitely agree. This was a good match. Number 3. We have Undertaker. I just saw this match recently. Undertaker and Triple H in a Hell in a Cell match. It was WrestleMania. I can't remember which one it was.
Well, you have their 2012, which I believe was WrestleMania 27? 26? 27?
I can't remember. That's why I'm there.
The Undertaker and Triple H with Shawn Michaels as the referee.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that was like 27 or 28.
Well, if I was 27, then it really saved the show. That's all I'll say about that. Anyways, yeah.
It was a good match.
It was a very good match, and I thought about it. Very good ring psychology.
Yes.
You've got the cerebral assassin who wants to try to end the Undertaker streak.
Yeah.
After his best friend loses twice.
Right.
So, yeah, you had the match the year before, Falls Count Anywhere, or no, a hardcore match, I think it was.
I believe so.
And that was a good match. But, I'm a huge fan of Hell in a Cell.
Yes.
So, it was like one of the best matches that I've seen at a WrestleMania.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
you have the whole thing where Shawn Michaels is conflicted. He doesn't want Triple H to win because he doesn't want the streak to end. He doesn't want The Undertaker to win because he
doesn't want his best friend
That's-
pissed off at him.
Exactly. So it's like very close calls, of course.
Yeah.
Triple H is cowering in the corner, which added to the psychology. Tears in his eyes, and then of course there was a super kick involved, and then I think he super kicked both of them at one point. He definitely super kicked the Undertaker, which fell into a pedigree, and then a close call. So
I was just sitting there thinking that's probably like the whole match in its entirety was a phenomenal match, but I would say that spot there with Shawn super kicking Undertaker, then Undertaker turning around and taking the pedigree from Triple H was my favorite spot from that match.
yes, yeah, but I think what really was the best thing ever. Well, yeah, whatever that I said there.
Yeah.
What was that shot where you see at the end of the match? You've got Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker carrying Triple H out. They're looking at the audience, and you really think, wow, there is an end of an era.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And that would have been fine, but unfortunately, and that's fine. I think Undertaker wrestling up until this year whatever. That's what it is. What it is.
Yeah.
It's unfortunately that his last match he was treated as a bitch, but you know what? It was a good match. You know, had a lot of great ring psychology as always. Not too much blood,
No.
but I don't. If you have a good match like that,
If you have a good match like that, who says you need blood?
exactly. So honestly, yeah. So this is a very good match, in my opinion, and there was another Hell in a Cell match, WrestleMania 15, but that doesn't compare
Yeah.
to this match.
When you've got two of the best ring psychologists in a match together, and both of them have fairly good records and other things inside a match like Hell in a Cell, you know that with the two of them together in a match inside Hell in a Cell, it's gonna be magic, and that night was magic.
Oh yeah, yeah, it was awesome. You know, and I don't know. I hope in the future that they have another one. Well, oh wait, they did. Sorry, Shane McMahon, Undertaker.
Yeah.
So, but holy shit, Wargames. That's gonna be awesome. Anyways,
Yeah, my next match, I really enjoyed this match. I thought it was a really good one. I wouldn't say it was one of my all-time favorite matches, but it's definitely a favorite match as far as just two guys going in there, having a great match, having the fans kind of split between who's going to win, and just the timing and the reactions were brilliant. Bobby Roode and Shinsuke Nakamura.
yes, yeah, that was pretty cool. And to think that you would have thought that Shinsuke Nakamura would have beaten Bobby Roode on that night.
Yeah.
Very smart thing, very old school thing to do, I guess. Focusing on that one part of the body,
Yeah.
and of course, Shinsuke's leg giving out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he didn't win on that night.
Yeah. Like, the way it ended was a surprise, but the match as a whole was really good.
For sure. Yeah, and you know, if the time comes, hopefully they have another good match. They're both on SmackDown. I mean,
Yeah.
it could definitely happen. I mean, there still has to finish that feud with Shinsuke and Baron. So,
Yeah.
we got WrestleMania 13. It's Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. Hitman Bret Hart versus Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Submission match.
In a submission match with your special guest referee, Ken Shamrock. And, yeah, talk about life. Like, so, back in 96, you know, it wasn't exactly a turning point for the WWF. Like I said, I wasn't watching it as much, so I never really noticed a lot. I knew Gold Dust, I knew that Warrior came back. I saw a match where Vader broke Yokozuna's leg. But other than that, I don't remember too much in 96.
Yeah.
Oh, well, actually, I do remember the whole feud with Bret Hart and Steve Austin, and that's exactly around the time where, you know, this match came about. They had their match in 96 Survivor Series in Madison Square Garden. That was a great match in itself.
Yes.
They had a lot of great matches, you know, and so this match was kind of surprising. Like I said, the fans were starting to turn. So it was like, you know, the Attitude Era was starting to come into effect. And there was a switch. So you had Bret Hart going as a face, and he ended up as a heel. Well, I don't know why, but a lot of people, I guess, were fans of Steve Austin, and then you had Austin obviously turn face. And of course, in this match, you had a lot of these bumps. Stone Cold Steve Austin hitting his head on steps, which busted him open. So you have the epic moment where it's on everybody's shirt that they have. You got Steve Austin struggling to get out of the sharpshooter in a crimson mask, and he passes out.
Literally in a pool of his own blood.
And what's interesting about that is what made him a face.
Yeah.
Which I'm trying to understand that logic.
Yeah.
But I guess because he didn't give up. So, anyways, the match ends and Bret Hart beats the shit out of his leg. So there it is. And that was a really good match. Just for the simple fact that it was a switch by the end of the match. And no longer would you see, like, the good guy be the good guy, and then the bad guy be the bad guy. And, it was almost the Attitude Era. It was just starting to come in a few short months later.
Usually when a wrestler switches from face to heel to face, it's, they attack somebody from behind, or maybe a promo, or, something like that. Not very often will it happen in a match where you have a face against a heel, and then by the end of the match they've switched. It's different. It was unusual. It was interesting. It really kind of put Bret Hart's career down a different path and launched Austin's career further into what really made his character a really good character, just him being kind of the anti-hero, so to speak.
And it's funny, these two wrestlers, Bret the Hitman Hart being my childhood hero, and then you got Stone Cold Steve Austin, who would eventually become my adolescent hero. It's basically true. I mean, I started watching wrestling probably shortly after the Royal Rumble of '98, but here or there I would see bits and pieces. So maybe that's not true, but I don't know. It's just one of those things where they both changed my life in different ways, and I know that sounds kind of stupid, but it's true. And Steve Austin would become, the Intercontinental Champion, the Tag Team Champion, the WWF Champion, and then Bret Hart obviously going to WCW and ending his career, which you reap what you sow, and then unfortunately having the stroke and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
So, it's just one of those things. It's interesting to me just to see that match. And they obviously had some really good matches, and Austin would go on to say that Bret Hart's probably his number one favorite opponent.
Yeah, for sure.
So.
Yeah. Next one for me, I'm going completely away from WWE for this one. When I saw it, I thought, wow, this is a amazing match. I don't know, Matt, if you have seen it or know anything about it. I'm sure people, when they see this video, and they more than likely will have seen it and know about it. It's from TNA. It was America's Most Wanted versus Triple X inside a steel cage. This is from Turning Point 2005, 2006, somewhere in there. Really, really good match. I'd say one of my favorite steel cage matches.
yeah, and I think that obviously TNA was a lot fresher back then, so it was a
Yeah.
lot better. And it's not that, like, it's a hit or miss. Didn't watch it as much, but I watched it a lot more than I did WCW. But this was pretty cool. Like, I know LAX, and I've heard of America's Most Wanted. Obviously, James Storm was in there.
Yeah, James Storm and the Cowboy James Storm and the Wildcat Chris Harris.
Actually, I think I did see that a few times. So, yeah, to my memory, I think I did. But I obviously, it. If I saw it, and I probably did, those matches are always really good too. And the thing about TNA is that it's an octagon ring, which
Yes.
I have mixed feelings about that, but whatever, It's still cool to see a cage match look different, for once.
Oh yeah.
And, yeah, so, it's a shame that the company no longer exists. It's under a new name. Well, it's under Global Force, but
Yeah.
you know what? That it is what it is. I mean, it's just that I try to find some of these matches.
Yeah.
I might have a TNA pay-per-view DVD somewhere.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Well, there was one spot in this match, I'd say probably one of my favorite spots of all time. I believe it was probably James Storm, or it was James Storm Chris. Anyways, on top of the cage, going for probably like a superplex, whatever. Here comes Alex Skipper walking across the top of the freaking cage.
oh yeah,
And then does a Hurricane Rana off the top of the freaking cage.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy shit, that was fucking awesome.
and to think, that's probably the first time that's ever happened. Somebody using the cage like that,
Oh yeah.
like shit, it was fucking cool. So now we go on to, of course, WrestleMania 3, and what people argue is a hell of a lot better than Hogan and Andre. Macho Man Randy Savage versus Ricky the Drake and Steamboat for the Intercontinental Championship. And, the Intercontinental Championship, one of my favorite belts, it doesn't get the recognition that it deserves anymore. Although they try, honestly, they try, but it just gets kind of. Well, I mean, if you look at fucking WrestleMania this year, and it's on your pre-show, well, fuck you, Vince. But you get Randy Savage beating Tito Santana for the Intercontinental title. It was, Macho Man. When I first started watching wrestling, obviously he was the WWF champion. So I was reading my brother's magazines and going, oh, so he also held the Intercontinental title. So, and he was a really good bad guy. You get him, get Ricky Steamboat, who never turned heel, always the classic good face, family man, whatever. And this was pretty cool, I think that they had some really good spots. Probably two guys who probably aren't considered like big, massive muscle men
Yeah.
going at it, and high flying moves. This was pretty cool, and these guys, obviously, Ricky won the match with the help of George Animal Steel, and just the epic moment where he's hoisted up by Animal and he's got the title. It was a pretty good match, and it's unfortunate that we lost Macho Man, Randy Savage. Just one of those things where you wish that there would have, I don't know, would have been more matches like that without stipulation, this was a really good match at WrestleMania.
A lot of people have mentioned and talked about that match being the greatest WrestleMania match of all time. It was talked about, speculated that there's belief that that match is probably one of the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time. And the thing, I guess, for me, that really put it over was there was like 22 near falls in that match.
Yeah.
Before Ricky ended up taking the title from Randy. So,
In a roll up, no less.
yeah, exactly. My next match is a match that was only seen very few times. Hasn't been done again. The premise of the match itself was unique, was different, really kind of challenged the wrestling business to do other things, and the structure itself was pretty cool. There's also a match from TNA, the Asylum match.
Oh, yeah.
Basically, what the match was is you had like 10 guys, I think it was, in the ring, in this big giant cage, essentially, and it's basically like a battle royal, but the way you win it is you gotta climb all the way to the top of this thing, and through a hole in the top of the structure, and that's how you win. It's like, okay, and it was a new match, it was an innovative idea, and it was just one of those things where it's like, okay, they're going for something other than your basic steel cage match, if you will. It's too bad that they didn't pursue it and keep it going. They only had like 2 or 3, I think. But still, the match itself is one of a kind.
I don't seem to recall that. I'm gonna have to look that up again. I'm pretty sure I did see it, and I mean, it sounds awesome.
Yeah.
But any specific match?
It's not really one of those. For me, it's not really, oh, there was this match with these guys in it, and they had this person should do this, and this one do, and on and on and on, and then this person ended winning. It's just the match itself, as a whole, the structure and the idea, the concept, and everything about it is just like, that's really cool, you know?
Yeah.